This is Barbara Elistad with the Mesquite Local News. We're here this afternoon with Bubba Smith. He's kind of been under the weather lately with some health issues, and we're going to talk a little bit about that at the end. And he's going to give us a little bit of update on how his health issues are going. But we want to start off today with Bubba telling us giving us a short synopsis of his background.
Well, I've lived here in Mesquite since 1983, but as far as my political career, it's really began just in the last 10 years. I served for 6 years on the Mesquite City Council and held other various board positions, Water District, Southern Nevada Health, and the other ones that were appointed to. So it's great experience, and it's something that I feel like I can still contribute to, and so I'm interested in going forward with that.
Great. What do you bring to the table that would compel someone to vote for you?
You know, usually in politics, people look at incumbents as that person that has experience, that has been there, and that is helpful. But for me, honestly, I look at the 6 years that I served, and it will help me navigate through some of the political arena, and especially some of the hoops that exist. But what really makes the difference for me is I was not on the city council for the last 2 years, and it totally changed my perspective. I think you get too close to what's going on, and you don't see some of the innate problems that are there. And there's been some things creep into the city hall that I think need to be adjusted. So I bring that perspective of having been there and that experience of knowing how to navigate through that and fix some of those problems, but mostly being away from it. I'm able to look from the outside and see what some of those problems are.
Great, thanks. What specific areas should the City Council focus on in regards to improving the relationship between the existing business community and City Hall?
I love this question because actually being sick, I have a lot of time laying around thinking about stuff, but mostly some of the experience I gained over the last 2 years was dealing directly with that issue, trying to help businesses communicate better with City Hall. I worked as the community liaison for Wolf Creek Golf Course, and we were trying to work through some issues that have come up recently with the water and trying to resolve some of those. There is a gap that exists, and there's a disconnect that has crept into City Hall. And I think most of it is an operational malfunction where really City Hall has begun to isolate business from those people who are supposed to advocate for them, the City Council. Same thing with the people. It's done the same thing. One of my passions, one of the things I really want to get accomplished this time is what I call BAC. We have your BAC, which is Business Advocate Committee, where any business or a group of businesses can approach the city and say, we want to form a committee, an advocate committee. And they would be allowed then to select any 2 council people of their choice, and they would begin to meet with those 2 council people, go over the issues, and then those council people would become the advocates at City Hall. They know who to go to, they know the department heads. For a business, the regular business person, you think they should be able to go to City Hall and get some of this resolved, but there's a disconnect, it's not working. And ultimately, the electeds are being isolated from the issues that are there until it might come before them at a council meeting. So I think that is one of my primary goals, is to form that advocate committee.
Well, that's a really interesting idea, very innovative idea.
Thank you.
How would you work to attract new businesses to Mesquite?
The thing I love about this question is, as a government, I think the best thing we can do is just get out of the way. There's business professionals, they understand how to operate business. At City Hall, you would be hard-pressed to find one person that has owned their own small business. They don't know how to operate a business. They don't know how to get it started. I know we have Mesquite Means Business. It's a new program that they're trying to develop. They're trying to streamline the process, but we really need to get out of the way, and we need to consult with these professionals who own these small businesses or in the business profession, and let them do their job rather than getting in their way and throwing up so many roadblocks.
Okay, thanks. In general terms, what areas would you focus on in the upcoming city budget preparations? Understanding you will not be voting on this year's budget, but in the future.
I think everything has to be on the table, A through Z. Unfortunately, we live in that climate and that environment right now. There can't be any protected departments. Everything has to be up on the table, and we have to analyze every group and try to streamline at every point. The most important thing we have to do is not raise taxes and fees. We have to live within the budget that we have. That means we're going to have to make some cuts. Some of those might be painful. To say there's one specific one, I don't believe that's true. I think everything is going to be on the table and is going to have to come under consideration.
Okay. What kind of economic base do you think fits Mesquite best?
Well, I'm a little biased because I love the outdoors and the recreation aspects of Mesquite. I was part of building the very first softball complex in Mesquite, and I remember being told it will never work. And I contacted coaches and teams and organizations throughout the different states, and within 2 years we had 44 different tournaments at that softball complex.
Wow!
So it was. So I'm biased. I think that we need to focus on what we do best, and I think that's the recreational youth, especially, and for reasons, but adult also. The reason I think youth is because if you have for example, a girls' soft fast pitch tournament, you bring the girls, obviously, and their coaches, but you bring their parents and their grandparents, and they're very well attended. And so I think that needs to be a focus. Golf, we're a destination resort for golf, and I think we need to continue to do that. I think that's a great adult outlet, and that there can be some other things still too that we could do for adults, but definitely the outdoors and use our great weather and the recreational facilities that we have.
Okay. In your opinion, what are the advantages and disadvantages of the Lincoln County land annexation on the north side of town?
And that's the way to ask that question, because there are both advantages and disadvantages to that. First of all, the disadvantages, I worry about the saturation. I worry about those people who own homes, especially in this market, who are already upside down, and the oversaturation of more building lots and taking away from the existing residents that are here and that potential. The obvious benefit is we're at the table. If they're part of Mesquite, we're going to sit at the table and we're going to be able to help them master plan that community so it coordinates well with our own community, and we have the types of residents and developments that go well with us, and we don't overpack streets. We can have control over traffic and other issues like that. I think the state's going to, maybe the courts are going to settle some of those issues. There are cities that have the dual county up in Nevada, and there are some tax hurdles that they're going to have to jump through, because the county's going to collect the taxes and the city's going to need to get their fair share of those taxes to pay for those services. But I don't see that as a detriment or an advantage. I think that's just logistics that need to be worked through.
Okay.